or four of those trips are with the Rotary Grant. Jill has a passion in Africa. Has been several times. And she really is kind of the district guru when it comes to international grants. They're always leaning on her for understanding of how to put international grants on. So hopefully you'll explain a little bit about international grants. And we look forward to hearing from you. And let me give your clicker to you.
Is this going? Oh,
yeah, you just.
Yeah.
All right, let's give a hand to Jill.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jill. Nice to meet all of you. I want to talk to more of you afterwards. So what I'm going to talk about is my trip to the Gambia. All right. And just to tell you about this, it is a global grant. And so a global grant is through Rotary. It has to be at least a $30,000 figure to do a global grant. And the requirements is that you need 2 clubs one in a different country. Okay. And you're working together on a grant. So what I've done is this is a global grant in the Gambia. And there's a club in the Gambia that wrote the grant with me, all right? But because it's a $30,000 grant, Gainesville Haymarket was the sponsoring club. I was the writer of the grant. However, we can't come up with $75,000, right? So we have a strategic water alliance that's formed up of 20 clubs in our district. Okay, so every year we've been trying to get more and more participating clubs. And what we do is we ask each club in our district that are member of our Strategic Water Alliance to earmark $1,000 to donate to a grant. And it doesn't happen every year, but most years we have a grant. So what happens with a global grant is that, say the 20 clubs all donated $1,000. That's $20,000 in the pot. The district then matches that 20,000. So that brings it up to 40,000. And then for the global grant, Rotary International matches. So all of a sudden we're at $80,000. Okay, and every club just donated 1,000. So it's a great way to parlay any money. And a lot of times it can be money that we get back from the district. So it's not like we've done any fundraising for it. It's money the district has already given us. Okay, so that's a global grant. I said it's the Smiling Coast because that's the nickname of the Gambia. All right. Okay, and this is the Gambia, West Africa. It's actually very close to the United States. I took a nonstop flight from Dulles to Dakar, and that's 9 hours. And then from Dakar, I took a taxi down to the Gambia because you see Senegal is wrapped around the Gambia. A little history lesson, okay? There's some young people, but who has seen Roots, Alex Haley's Roots? Yeah. Okay. All right. If you haven't, look it up. It was a docuseries like in the 70s. But Kunta Kinte, it's from the Gambia. All right. So they have the Kunta Kinte Festival every year. That's the only thing that the Gambia has, actually. But back in the slave trading days, you see there's a river there, and like Mali is up in the northeastern part. Anytime they wanted to get slaves from the interior of Africa out to the Atlantic Ocean, they would take the Gambia River, right? So this was all Senegal. And so the French controlled this waterway. So England fought France over the control of the Gambia River, and they won. So Senegal is French, the Gambia is English. All right, so if you go to school, that's the official languages. The Gambia has 12 official languages in the country, all the tribal languages. So the tribal languages are the same in Senegal and the Gambia, same people. It's just if you go to school. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in the Gambia when my daughters were in college, from 2009 to 2011. This is my fourth time back. Fourth time back doing some work there. I've done 3 other grants with Strategic Water Alliance in Zambia, where I also do some mission work there. The way I got started in the Gambia, though, is I support an organization, a nonprofit called Gambia Rising, that supports girls going to school in the Gambia. And when I was there 4 years ago with my husband, I was talking to one of the directors there and meeting some of the girls. And he said, Dado, which is my African name, he's like, one of the schools that one of the girls that, or schools that you support, the girls going to school there, is closed. So what do you want to do with the money that you normally spend at that school? And I said, well, why is the school closed? And he said, because they don't have any water. And I was like, well, you know, Rotary can help you with that. We do just water at schools in Zambia. And I'll connect you with the Rotarians here in the Gambia, because I used to belong to the club. So they met, and they went to the meetings and things. Well, here, that turned into, there's actually no water in the village. It's not just the school. So at that point, it could be a global grant. Now, this was 4 years ago. And so about 3 years ago is when I started writing the grant, and it took that long. So it is a process. Normally it would take a couple years. Mine took a little bit longer. But so right there, where the red thing is, it says Banjul, that's the capital. That's in the southern part of the river. The project was just on the other side of the river in Essau. All right, so it's very difficult in the Gambia. Nothing's easy. And so when I talked to the people there, I said, you know, the United States, we gave them money. I said, and I helped write the grant. But the people that are really doing the work for you are the Gambian Rotarians. And because they have, we write up an MOU, they have obligations. They need to do the site surveys. They need to do the needs assessments. They need to follow up the due diligence afterwards, monitoring. So they have a lot to do. And it's not like us getting in our cars and driving, you know, to DC to, you know, have a meeting and check on things. You know, the roads aren't good. And I took one of the Rotarians, I'll show you so this is the ferry to cross the river. I had two people. The man in the blue hat was my first project chair, because like I said, I had 3 because it took 3 years. So 3 people I was working with on grants. And he picked me up from my hotel, took me to the ferry, which was a 45-minute drive, and where we met Dauda Faye, this man on the right. He was the man I initially talked to about the school and them needing water. The good thing is he's associated with the village, so he's been doing a lot of work too to help out, and he'll continue to do some monitoring afterwards. So we got to the ferry, and normally you have to wait, you know, up to an hour because there's only 2 ferries going very slow across the river. We got there, and the ferry was there, and he's like, there's 2 other Rotarians meeting us. Where are they? So he calls them, and he was mad at them. He said, you can't be on African time. Dado's here. Because they know, like, you know, come on, people, we have a schedule, you know. And I call it West African International Time, you know, WAIT, wait. And so they're like, so they said, well, we're just getting into Banjul now. And he said, well, we're not going to wait. We're going to board the ferry. So we're on the ferry. And then we get a call. We were just about to get to Barra, the other side of the river. And one of the other Rotarians called and he said, are we going to meet at the police station over on the other side? And he said, yes. He said, but we're not going to wait for you. We're going to go to the site. You can, meet us there. And he said, oh, no, I think we're going to beat you there. And we're like, how is he going to beat it? I said, maybe they're swimming. But no, the two people waving are the other two Rotarians. They hired a boat to go across, which is so, they did beat us there. By the time, they got to the ferry late, took a small boat. Then these are big guys too. And then they're actually carried by men over to the beach because there's no docks or anything. You're carried off the boat. So anyways, when I say it's not easy, they really do a lot of work. Then here we are when we got to the site, and this is how it looked last week. But I just got a picture last night, and I can't believe all the work. What we're doing is this village, I said, had no water. And so we're building, this is a tower, all those forms, they did a great job with foundations. And that's going to hold 8 big tanks like this. They're 5,000 liters of water per tank. So that's 400,000 liters of water that's going to be held there. Then they're doing a whole bank of solar panels. They've already dug the borehole, and they're doing a submersible pump in there. Okay. And then we're doing 35 taps throughout the village. So when we got there, there was already the villagers sitting around the circle. You see that chicken there? That's going to come up later. So there's all these people, all the top people from like the area district and things. Normally you have a ceremony, which they will have in about a month when the project is over. They'll have a handoff. We're going to erect a sign, all of that. But they had a mini one since I was there. They apologized that they didn't have, a cultural presentation, but they did a good job. Now, almost everybody spoke. The one man with the tan and black shirt, he's one of the village chiefs over there. And it was just very moving. He was saying that for years and years and years, they've struggled with water. And they have some open wells, which is with a bucket, that they draw water with. There's 2 compounds that have their own water tank that, they get help with, from family members. But they don't have any water in the community. And he said they've tried and tried to get the government to get water to them. The government says no, because they can't pump it up because they're on a hill. Well, there's no hills. I mean, it's flat, and so I don't know, maybe it's 5 foot up, but that's, they just believe that, okay, well, we can't have any water supplied to us. They have contracted people to come and dig a borehole. Their ground is so sandy that what happens, they say within no time at all, it caves in. So and that just fills up any pipes. So they've tried and tried. And then they said they have had a lot of people come. There's people, mission trips and things that come and say, we will help you. And then they never do. And he said, they came, we had come and taken measurements and talked to them and did all this. And he said, when I got a call from the people at the ferry saying that there was a shipment that they had to come pick up, he said he started crying. He went there without shoes on. He forgot he was so excited, and they thanked Allah, and it was just marvelous. They couldn't believe it because they just didn't trust that this would be done for them. This is a picture of me and my new baby. There was ladies there, the Alcala, well, I talked about, but she said, Dado, thank you so much for bringing water to our village. We want to give you something.
A baby?
So they gave me that baby. She said I could take it. And then but I left and I forgot. So, and they were a riot. They really were. This lady here is why I did the project. She is the village Alcala, which the Alcala of a village, this is a Muslim country, 95% Muslim. The men have up to 4 wives. When I lived there, I had 3 wives in my compound. And so, and like I said, I support girls to go to school because they really don't value females in leadership. She is the mayor of the town, right? Her husband was the mayor, the Alcala, but he died. And then they elected her to run it. And I was just like, you know, as soon as I heard it was a female Alcala, I was like, I'm there. Because I said, I want a female Alcala to have water in our village. And so they were very happy. So she gave me that dress and that shirt for my husband, which they call Demba, is his name. This lady here is the lady that actually gave the land for the tank, the tower, the well, the solar system. She only had, her husband died years ago. She had a son that just died about last year. So she lives in this house by herself. And, you know, it's just a little mud, you know, block walls and stuff. But it's hers. And it had a big area out the back that she had a garden and stuff. And when they were trying to find a place for this project, she said, you can use my land. Well, they came out to measure. I talked to one of the contractors. They had measured it. It was like, 17 meters or something. But then they were like, oh, well, we need more and more and more. And it got to be quite big. And so they said, do you still want us to use your property for this? She said, you can build right up to my threshold of my door. She goes, everything I have is yours. It just meant that much to her. It was just amazing. So they are giving, one of the taps of the 35 is going into her place as a thank you from the village. Every other tap is going to a public area. Because of the size of the project, they can add on, they know they can add on to have a maximum of 60 taps. But before that's done, they're going to wait a while, make sure the water is good, make sure everybody's contributing, because all the members of the community have to pay some money for the water, for the upkeeps and repairs. Here I was just giving gifts from, I'll show you here. This is a cup. I was the head of one of our walks for water for Strategic Water Alliance. So I had bought cups as part of the gift bags. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I have these cups. So I took them and everybody in the community that was at the meeting got a cup. And what's neat about that is, I'm living there, seeing all these compounds. They have like a clay bowl type thing, or a little urn at the front door inside their house. And it's clay to keep any water cold. It's not filtered or anything, but it's cold. And then there's this one, everybody has the same, a plastic cup with a handle. And whoever comes in, takes the top off, dips it in, and drinks it. And that's the only cup that they have in their house. And so I thought, wouldn't it be nice to give them cups? And now they can think about us when they're drinking it. This is the head contractor, which they do an excellent job. They're upgrading things, not charging us, doing great work. So yeah, it's really coming out strong. And the Rotarians drank, when I was drinking, and they described it as very sweet. Like, oh, this water is very sweet. So, this is the group of us that were at the meeting. with their cups. And so Rotarians and contractors and me. Okay, see the what he's holding?
Chicken.
That's that chicken, okay? It was creating a commotion. So they told the Rotarian to pick it up. He picked it up. So when we left, they said, don't forget your chicken. They ran out, they put it in. So that was us coming back with the chicken. And then the next day, he had me over at his house for chicken domata. And guess where that chicken came from? It was delicious. Yes, he's a Rotary, yeah. And then, okay, so whoops. So here's the Rotary Club meeting. There's about 12 members there. He was one of the ones on the trip with us. And so I took him our banner, which is there. And then they gave me their banner. So I have that to give to you. And then they said the day that I was there last Wednesday was the anniversary of women joining Rotary. I Googled it. I couldn't find that any place, but they said maybe it was just the Gambia accepting. It was that day. And so the president said a lot of nice things because there was 3 other women there, Rotarians, and just saying what a great contribution women have been to Rotary. And he said, every man get up. And they sang the club song, the Rotary Banjul Anthem, and all the men sang that to us. I just thought that was so neat. Have our men ever done that for us? I don't think so. So that's it. I can entertain questions if we have time.
Yeah.
If anybody has questions. Yes.
I was going to say that women were entered into Rotary Internet as a part of international policy in January 1989.
Okay, so it was probably January, whenever I was there. Yeah.
I had the guest last in December, right? I think I brought my mom, and or maybe it was January. And she was one of the first 5 women inducted into Rotary in Oregon, in the entire state. And they were bringing one in 1989. So it's so cool.
Yep.
Very good.
Other questions?
I want to know more about the name they gave you and your husband. Like what did they mean?
Oh, so okay, so my Gambian name is Dado So. And I was given that when I joined the Peace Corps, and because they can't say English names, it's much easier for us instead of Icicle. If her name was Jane, it would be easier for us to remember, right? So we get local names. Since I got married, I changed my last name from Lehman to Shaw. I also changed my middle name. It used to be Denise, now it's Dado. So I have, because that means more to me. So I am Dado. So instead of Dado, so I'm Jill Dado Shaw. So yes.
So how many years from start to where we are today, how many have been invested in getting this part of the international program for our club? How long?
This project, so I started writing the grant 3 years ago. Part of the problem, because it's funded by Strategic Water Alliance, we only want to do one project at a time. So there was a project in Uganda that they wanted to get done first. So that Uganda project was held up by a year, just problems with that. So that really held me up. But then it's not easy working with another club. They don't have 24/7 electricity or internet, and stuff. So even at the end, when I kept thinking, oh, it's done, we had to change the bank because we routing monies over there. The bank, when they did the application, they did abbreviations of something, RC for Rotary Club. Well, it didn't match up what was on the grant. For us, we would go into the bank and we'd say, hey, change it. 3 weeks it took. And I kept asking everybody, oh, the bank says it will be soon, you know? So it's just everything. I thought it would be there 2 years ago. I thought I'd be there 1 year ago. I thought maybe last summer. And so when Cyber Monday, they have sales on airplane reservations. So I booked my flight and I said, I'm coming the end of January 23rd. I want the project to be in construction or completed by then. And there I was. So I like to be on projects because then they do know that someone will be coming and following up. And it's just nice to see.
Districts together. You said-
Oh, that project was 75,000.
So
Yeah.
There's many clubs.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Jill. That was impressive.